Welcome back to Boxing Resume. It's time to review the Golden Boys resume. First opponent worthy of mentioning is Jeff Mayweather, the uncle of Floyd Mayweather. Oscar De La Hoya only had 4 fights when this fight happened, and he looked spectacular. In just his fifth fight, got the stoppage over a veteran and a pretty good fighter. Jeff Mayweather got some skills. He ain't a world beater, but he definitely, I think, has a respected career. And Oscar De La Hoya did his thing. Jorge Paez is a OG. He was a aging fighter at this point. Definitely a legend and worthy mentioning. Paez was also on a 7-fight winning streak against younger fighters, but he never faced nothing like Oscar De La Hoya. He was just bigger, better, and stronger. Did what he was supposed to, and we move on to the next fight. Then Oscars faced John Molina, a Puerto Rican superstar. He won a decision against the veteran. Oscar then faces Rafael Ruelas, a knockout artist who only had one loss at this point. And a lot of people thought that this was going to be his first big test. Oscar De La Hoya destroyed and just stopped Rafael Ruelas in 2 rounds. Then Oscar faces Gennaro Hernandez. He was undefeated and a legend. At this point, people thought that Oscar De La Hoya was jumping into deep waters a little too soon. And they was wrong, as Oscar dominated the fight and got the stoppage in the 6th round. Oscar faces another legend in Jesse James Leija, but Jesse was a little too small. He got stopped early. Darrell Tyson was a solid guy. He had a draw with Livingston Bramble, and he had a win over Roger Mayweather. Oscar then faces the legend Julio Cesar Chavez. Now this was an exciting fight that saw Oscar really beat up on the old legend. Oscar then faces undefeated Miguel Angel Gonzalez. He's a future world champion at this point, and it was a solid victory. Oscar then faces one of the all-time greats, Pernell Whitaker. Now, this was a very close fight. It was very hard for Oscar to land punches, but he made it close enough to get the victory. Then Oscar beats David Kamau, a good fighter who only had one loss to Julio Cesar Chavez. So this was a statement made since he dominated the fight. Oscar then faces Macho Man. This was a very good fight for him since he dominated the fight once again against another legend. Then came Wilfredo Rivera, which was a solid guy. Both his losses came to Pernell Whitaker, and he had a win over Livingston Bramble. Then came the rematch against Julio Cesar Chavez. Now this was another beatdown as Oscar De La Hoya broke the jaw of Julio Cesar Chavez to get the victory this time around. I don't really know why a rematch even happened, but still dope to mention. Ike Quartey is probably one of the best African fighters of all time. Now, him and Oscar had a classic battle back and forth. Ike was actually winning the fight. Oscar ended up having a solid 12th round to gain the victory. Then came Obakar, which Oscar De La Hoya ended up knocking out the former world champion. And this dude definitely fought a who's who. Then came the classic fight with Felix Trinidad. This was kind of a controversial loss, and it was the first loss of Oscar De La Hoya. Daryl Coley was a solid guy who had wins over Ray Lovato, Willie Wise, to name a few, and Terrence Ali. Then came another classic battle against a legend, Shane Mosley. Now, this fight, he did lose convincingly, but it was still very competitive, an action-packed fight that saw back and forth throughout 12 rounds, and definitely a fight to recommend. Then Oscar dominates the legend Arturo Gatti. This was a one-sided beatdown as it was expected at the time, but Arturo Gatti is, one of those guys that you can never count out, and De La Hoya dominated. Javier Castillejo was definitely a veteran with over 50 wins. He even went on to get a victory over Felix Stern after this. Then came another classic battle with another legend, Fernando Vargas. Now, this was an exciting fight, a lot of trash talk in the press conference, and it was probably the most satisfactory victory of Oscar De La Hoya's career. Luis Ramon Campas was definitely a veteran, a former world champion who had 80 wins with 5 losses at this point and finished his career with over 100 wins. Then comes the rematch with Shane Mosley. Now, this was a classic battle. Oscar did a lot better this fight. Many people thought that he deserved the victory, but Mosley did land like the harder punches throughout the fight, and I think that's why he basically got the victory again over Oscar. Oscar then faced a bigger man, Felix Stern, undefeated at the time. And after losing this fight to Oscar De La Hoya, which was a controversial loss, he didn't lose again for a while and ended up defending his title, regained the title, and then defended it. So this was a very good win for Oscar, a controversial victory, but he did get the W. Oscar takes a one-sided beatdown from Bernard Hopkins. Now, this was not a good look, but you got to give Oscar credit for fighting such a big and talented opponent. Like, this so far has got to be one of the best resumes I've done so far. His next fight set up a bizarre press conference against Ricardo Mayorga. Now, Ricardo is a wild man, not much of a skilled boxer, but he definitely has knockout power and was able to upset a lot of good fighters. So this is definitely a good look. Then came a classic fight against Floyd Mayweather Jr. Now, Oscar did lose this fight, but this was a fairly close fight, and he ended up becoming one of the toughest fights of Floyd's career. Oscar then fights former world champion Steve Forbes. This was a decent win since Steve was a smaller man. Oscar's last fight came when he faced Manny Pacquiao, another classic battle. Oscar De La Hoya really got beat up in this fight, and he dehydrated himself, so he really looked terrible. Kind of like how Ryan Garcia dehydrated himself when he fought Tank Davis. But, overall, this video is not about wins and losses or about Oscar De La Hoya's overall skill, which he was a great fighter. Take nothing away from him. And, with a resume like this is top notch. He fought the best fighters that was around. Floyd Mayweather twice. Manny Pacquiao, Pernell Whitaker, just to name a few. So this is a A+ resume. This is, the best fighting the best. And Oscar De La Hoya definitely was no stranger to danger. So this is why I'm giving him a A+ resume. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think it's fair? Do you think I'm rating him too high? Give me some opinion. Give me some feedback, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think I should review next. Peace out, y'all. Thank you once again for watching. Take care.